Hello movie fans, I'm Eric aka MrAniMonkey and welcome back to MrAniMonkey, the channel for everything animated movies. Today, I was on Facebook and I stumbled upon an article about pretty much the rumored confirmation of Toy Story 4. Now Toy Story 4 has been rumored before. John Lasseter, it was brought up to John Lasseter in an interview a while ago, and he said that it might be happening, but probably not. And, you know, I took these rumors not very seriously, because you could really have this kind of buzz with any, buzz, no pun intended, with any movie series. You could say Back to the Future has maybe a possibility of having a sequel. Any movie series has a possibility of having more movies made onto it. Recently, Star Wars is actually confirmed to have it, but I really just wanted to keep it optimistic because I do not want a Toy Story 4. I'll get into that later, but pretty much ever since the third movie came out, it was a rumor, and that's all it was. Now, it might possibly be confirmed that there is a fourth movie to be released in 2015, which is already a crazy year for movies, and the Toy Story movies mean more to me than any other movie that's ever been seen by me, I guess. I grew up watching it countless times. I can recite all three movies, even the third one that came out just 3 years ago, almost. The summer will be 3 years. It's really just a series that means more to me than most things in my life. And I know that might sound weird, and it might sound just like, just odd for some of you who aren't as passionate about movies as I am. But really, the characters and the storytelling, Toy Story on a technical level is revolutionary. The Toy Story was the first movie to ever be computer animated, and I just could really appreciate the passion and the dedication that went into that movie. And so when I was getting older, I began appreciating this movie for a different reason. When I was younger, I appreciated it for its humor, its great storytelling, and its heart and emotion. As I got older, I did realize how big of a movie Toy Story was, and that made me appreciate it even more. So, Toy Story movies are my favorite movies ever, and I've made it clear in many of my videos that they do mean a lot to me. And just the thought of Toy Story 4 is really just, it's sad, because Toy Story came full circle completely in 2010. I believe more than any other movie sequel or movie adaptation or anything has come full circle. I don't think anything's done it better than Toy Story. And you can argue with me on that. You can say like Return of the King, Lord of the Rings, anything like that. You can argue with me on it, but I'm always going to stand by Toy Story. Sitting in the theater in 2010, just watching the movies that I grew up watching again, over and over again, with not any less enthusiasm or any less love for the movies. I just kept loving them more and more the more I watched them. And watching the third movie in June 18th, 2010, all of it come together was magical. It was amazing. It was probably the most emotionally genuine experiences I've ever had. And the reason for that is it completed the story. And the ending of Toy Story 3 was the most satisfying thing I've ever seen in storytelling. It meant a lot to me, and I don't think it could have been done any better. And if you maybe disagree with me saying the end of Toy Story 3 kind of opened up the door for new movies, which in a way they kind of did, and I guess they've already taken advantage of that with the Toy Story shorts that take place in the new universe that has been expanded upon the ending of Toy Story 3. But to me, the Toy Story movies have come full circle in a different way. The first Toy Story movie, all the Toy Story movies have their own little perspective on the toy industry, also on the emotions of the characters and the feelings of the characters and what they do in the movie. But in the background, there's like a small message of what's going on with the toys in like the bigger universe of toys. In the first one, we see like all these old toys. We got Woody the cowboy, of course, the very old school 1950s cowboy doll. We also have a Slinky Dog, old dinosaur toy, Mr. Potato Head. All pretty dated, I guess, to their own respect. And when Buzz Lightyear steps into the scene, it's just a big issue in the toy world because he's a big new toy and he could possibly challenge Andy's love for the toys themselves. And they go through that, and that's probably it's not the biggest message of the movie, but it triggers the heart of the movie between Woody and Buzz and their friendship. So that's Toy Story, I guess. That's the underlying message in the toy industry and how it affects the toys' lives. And the creativity they pulled from that is just spectacular. It's been, in my opinion, unmatched by any other movie. Toy Story 2, we kind of get to the feeling of the value of classic toy collecting as we meet the character of Al, who steals Woody, kidnaps him, for him to add to like his big expensive collection of Woody's Roundup toys. So we kind of get a message of toy collecting, but we also get a completely opposite message of the commercialism and the consumerism, I guess, of the toy industry through Buzz Lightyear. And we see Buzz going to the Al's Toy Barn, and there's a whole aisle dedicated to Buzz Lightyear toys, and they're all the same toy, pretty much. And one of them has a belt. So it pretty much is, on one end, how the value of old toys can spark up after a long time. On the other hand, when you have a new big thing, you want to exploit it and milk it pretty much as much as possible. So I thought that was very interesting, and probably just one of the most significant messages of the toy industry and stuff like that. And in Toy Story 3, we get to know what happens when toys are outgrown. And that's probably the most, it's the most, I guess, present message of them, because it's really a big part of the movie. In other ones, it kind of is behind the scenes, you kind of get a feel of that, and this one, it's right up front. And that's where a lot of the emotion comes from, and I believe Toy Story 3 is the most emotional one of the movies. The first time I saw it, I was pretty much crying the whole time. So, it was a big deal, and I love the way all these messages were done. And it goes through how the character of Andy, who is obviously the kid who plays with all toys, who gets older and older, interprets these messages of toys and how their world is changing for the toy characters and for the human characters. So I think that the story of Andy is, in a way, the story of the toys as well, and they fit right together. And when Andy pretty much leaves the toys, to spoiler alert at the end of Toy Story 3, the story just kind of ends on a literal standpoint, but really in the imagination of the viewers, it can continue on as much as we want them to, because the stories became our stories at the end of Toy Story 3. We could really make up our own thing that goes on, and you could say the Toy Story tunes kind of are contradicting that message, but really I think it's just other people interpreting who have more influence, of course, on the Toy Story universe, interpreting their own endings of the movie, but it doesn't really affect the imagination of us, because really I can think of a million things that happen at the end of after Toy Story 3, and it's just a fun world to play in, I guess. And similar to what, I want to make it more clear to how much this movie means to me, another movie that people are really passionate about is Star Wars. In Star Wars, there's a whole big world, a whole universe, a whole galaxy far, far away of characters and planets that people are free to interpret in their own way, and they've exploited that and taken advantage of that as much as they can with the extended universe, just different stories that people make up, fan films. So that's been completely, the fans really just made that their own, and even after the special editions came out and even after the prequels came out, they still kind of hold on to that thing. Not as much as they used to. There is a little bit of less hope, but then of course Star Wars has been bought by Disney, so it's a big thing. But getting back to Toy Story 4 would ultimately take that away from the fans, take away the the fun of making up what happens after Toy Story 3. I know that's kind of hard to picture because Toy Story 3 has only been around for not even 3 years now. So it hasn't really been as significant of a factor of the imagination that Toy Story generates from kids and adults alike. But it really is there from what I see as Toy Story fans play with their own toys. I made up my own stories with a lot of the toys that are back here and some other toys that are around my room. Slinky dog. Got a Slinky right here that I just recently got. But as a kid, I love making up my own Toy Story stories because that's what Toy Story allowed me to do. Really just, I could play around in the world that John Lasseter and all the other Pixar employees made, and I know they're passionate about it as much as the fans are, if not more. So, just being able to think of Toy Story however I wanted and make the story continue however I wanted is really special and important to me. And I don't think Toy Story 4 could really avoid ruining that to a certain extent. Of course, there will still be the imagination of fans of Toy Story who can still make up their own stuff, but as Andy's story has already come full circle, there's no way that they can't take that away even a little bit by telling the story, whatever story it may be, after Andy leaves for college. So that's why I don't want Toy Story 4 to happen. And Toy Story 3 has the perfect ending, but I see it as more than that. I see it as the perfect ending to all 3 movies is in Toy Story 3, not just perfect ending to Toy Story 3. And all 3 movies, it completely allows the fans to adopt the characters pretty much, and the toys themselves that actually exist in our world do also do that. Owning a Woody doll is pretty much like being in Andy's shoes, and I played with Woody and Buzz all the time as a kid. I wrote my name on the bottom of their feet. I made their own little adventures with them, and really I just see Toy Story 4 as something that is a threat to the integrity and the passion of the series and the overall message that it allows for kids to use their imagination instead of playing video games and having the stories be force-fed to them and having them have to play in other people's stories. And I'm not saying that video games are evil because of that, but I'm saying toys have a more genuine way of kids to express themselves and play when they can make up whatever is going on. And movies are people telling you their stories, of course, and games are different because you can make up your own story. So, and the Toy Story movies have been extremely good at expanding the universe and extending it, but without taking away the imagination of the viewer. So I think Toy Story 4, there's no way they can avoid doing that. So and even if they can avoid it, it's not going to be the same story because Andy's not going to be a part of it. He could be a part of it, but he'd probably just be shoehorned in there. So I just say, leave the Toy Story movies to be. 3 perfect movies, and you could argue with me, you could say they're not perfect. I think they're beyond infinity and beyond perfect. Leave those movies as they are. You can still make the Toy Story tunes. I think they're good. I think they're funny, and I think they allow more of an analysis of what could happen after Toy Story 3. But we don't need a whole movie saying what happens after Toy Story 3. It is the perfect ending to the movie series, and there can be other stuff after it, but really the movie series, I think, should just be left alone and left to be perfect so we can pass on. We don't have to have a new movie for the new generation of kids. We can pass on the movies we already have to that generation because they really aren't dated or anything. The animation in the first Toy Story is probably even better than movies like that come out like Hoodwinked, which I love the movie Hoodwinked. It doesn't have as good animation though. And Hoodwink 2 I hated, but it had pretty bad animation as well. And I'm not saying that Toy Story had bad animation. I thought it had amazing animation, and you could see the advances in animation through each movie. Toy Story 2 looks a lot better than the first Toy Story. With all due respect to the first Toy Story, Toy Story 2 obviously had more resources that they could take advantage of and make the animation as best as possible. And Toy Story 3, I might even say, has the best animation ever, just because of how much they created a whole universe that you feel like you could... It's not the same thing as our world. It's not supposed to be realistic, but it's believable. It's believable, and you feel like you could reach in there, and you feel like everything that happens could happen in that universe. So the animation, I think, makes the movie timeless, and all the movies are timeless pretty much. Even though the toy industry and everything, the society will change, and I might be even getting to deeper issues than I should, talking about the Toy Story movies. Even though the world will change, we can still relate to these movies. So I think that we don't need a new movie for a new generation of kids. I think the three movies are perfect for passing on to... I know if I have kids, I'm definitely going to be showing them the first three Toy Stories, and I don't think that it's going to have any effect on them if they haven't grown up watching these movies, because as they're coming out, instead just they watch the movies that were made a long time ago, and it will still have a similar effect on them. So I really just think that Toy Story 4 would take away a lot of the imagination that the series invokes, and take away a lot of the passion. And I have defended Pixar all my life. Pixar has been doing great movies. Cars 2 came out, and I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie like all the other movies. I would say even Cars is a great movie. But I think it's a good movie. A lot of people hate that movie, and I defended it. They said that it was a cash grab, and they said that the only reason they made it was to sell toys of cars, which kind of relates to what I'm talking about, but the toy industry. But I knew that John Lasseter wanted to return to the world of Cars, even though not many people connect to that world. I knew he wanted to play with these characters even more, so I let it slide, I guess, and I enjoyed Cars 2 for what it was. Brave was, I guess, a less imaginative movie than most Pixar movies, but I still did enjoy the story of it and enjoying the emotion of it. People are saying that Pixar is kind of falling off the wagon and just kind of stooping down to the level of some other animation studios such as DreamWorks, which aren't as in tune with the emotions and the feelings of its audience. And I defended Pixar. I said that they're doing what they want to do, they're trying new things, they're taking risks, and they're not always going to pay off for everybody. And I enjoyed the movies for what they were. Currently, a lot of people are anticipating, cautiously, Monsters University, which is a movie I brought up on this channel as one I'm most excited to watch out of any movie this year. And I still am super excited for it, but I feel like after this movie, what's going to happen? Because Toy Story 4 is probably not being made for the integrity and the passion for the Toy Story series. It's most likely being made for money. Toy Story 3 was Pixar's most profitable film, making over $1 billion. And that's fine if it makes a lot of money, but people care about what's going on. And I feel like Finding Nemo 2 is another one that Pixar is being rumored to be working on, probably is working on. I think it was even confirmed for a 2014 release date. Why make a Finding Nemo 2? The first story is fine. You can tell your own different stories. And that's not like Pixar is only making sequels and prequels right now. They're doing other stuff too with their own original stories. But I feel like I'm not going to be able to hold on to the faith that Pixar is making movies purely for the passion and for the enjoyment of storytelling forever. It's going to slowly disintegrate, and that begins with Toy Story 4. So I know I've been talking for a long time, and it is something I'm really passionate about, so I hope you guys can respect that. And I really hope you guys leave me your feedback about this news in the comments below, on Facebook, anything. Tell me what you feel about this news, but really, overall, please don't make Toy Story 4. Toy Story 1 through 3 are fantastic movies, and you know, I'm confident that Toy Story 4, if made, would be a great movie. I'm sure of it. But that's not why it should be made. It shouldn't be made because it would take away part of the magic of the series and some of the imagination of the fans of the series. So, to sum it up, I don't want a Toy Story 4. Please make your own videos, spread the word about this video, anything. Just understand that I'm passionate about these movies and about these characters, and passionate about the world of Toy Story and the imagination that it invokes from its viewers, and understand that this means a lot to me, and this news could ultimately affect my favorite movies, my favorite stories that I've grown up loving, and I still love. I don't love them less than I did when I was 5 or 6 years old. I love them even more now. So I really just I'm afraid of these movies coming out, to be honest. I am. I'm afraid that it might tarnish the reputation of the Toy Story movies for all being perfect. Ultimately, I'm afraid that it takes away part of the magic of Toy Story. That's my biggest concern, and that's why I don't want to see a Toy Story 4 be made. So again, leave your responses, any feedback you have. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, please just let me know how you guys are feeling. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys next time.